Welcome back, once again, adventurers, to Let's Play Chaos Child. In the last episode, Miyokuno Sato was busy looking for pertinent bits of information here at this strange, unusual facility. And it turns out that this place was being used prior to the events of the New Generation Madness and the Shibuya earthquake. She also discovered that there is apparently an 11th Rorschach test that was deliberately created. A test that looks ominously similar to the sumo stickers that have been pervading Shibuya in recent months. But more importantly, Takuru now knows the name of the girl that he and Serika had inadvertently run into, not in 2009, but 2007 of all things. And that girl happened to be none other than Senri Minamisawa herself, Kurisu's childhood friend, believed dead, believed missing, whose name is inscribed on the memorial of the Shibuya restoration. But even more importantly, we also have the name of the girl with the spectacles and with the old woman walking alongside her, whose name is Uki Yamazoe. And she too has been involved as a byproduct of these insidious experiments. But there was also something else that was mentioned. The term D-sword. A term which Miyokuno Sato seems all too familiar with, which is curious. But aside from that, Takuru and everyone else is still interested in retrieving Takuru's phone, which is still in the possession of Uki Yamazoe. But Takuru did have the plan to use the other observational monitors to try and scope out the rest of the facility and hopefully get a plan going for retrieving the phone. But that was until some of the monitors turned on of their own accord. All the monitors on the wall turned on. That's convenient and inconvenient in the same breath. All we could do was gasp. What we thought were security cameras were showing images. Hundreds of sumo stickers. I almost screamed. I was so surprised. Inside the monitors on the wall was face after sumo sticker face, all looking at me. What was this? What was going on? Could it be that we were found out after all? Or maybe this is just some sick, twisted coincidence. This again.
おいおい、勝手に寝るんじゃない。
Yeah, we experienced this when we saw that sumo sticker Rorschach. This is not reality. Kunosato. Huh? I was back in the chair. Was this a dream? Which was the dream? Was I dreaming of being in this chair? Or had I been dreaming of being in the monitoring room? My head felt really cold. Oh, that's right. They'd opened my skull. Hmm.
お前はなかなかいい脳みそをしているな。
Did I?
ピンク色でシワが多くて、とても美味しそうだ。
それは喜んでいいんですか？
もちろんだ。さて、それじゃあそろそろいただくとするか。
Yeah, this is all sorts of wrong, Takuru. I'm pretty sure that this is the delusion. Although, right now there is no way for Takuru to distinguish between this and that. The effect these sumo stickers have, but anyway. Kunosato grinned with glee and took something metallic out of her pocket. A spoon. I'm getting horrible flashbacks of case number 5 of the New Generation Madness. Brainless. Oh god.
人間の脳はこうして生きたまま食べるのがうまいんだ。
Yeah, this is very much in the vein of Hannibal Lecter now. Huh, who knew? There's no.
では、
Just
失礼して。
no. She was eating it. Kunosato was eating my brain.
はあ、ダメだ。止まらない。
Yeah, disturbing is an understatement.
食べられるってこんなに気持ちがいいんだ。もっともっと食べて僕を食べて
Yeah, I have no words. we're back. We're back in reality. Again. Yeah, I had another weird delusion caused by these things. I quickly shook my head and slapped my cheeks to snap myself out of it.
なんかやだ。
気色悪い。
Serika and Ito looked unhappy. It was because of the sumo stickers displayed on the monitors. But why are they there? I looked at the monitors once more, trying my best to avoid the sumo stickers.
あれはこの病院の中じゃない。
Could be. Some of the monitors were showing the inside of the hospital, but some were looking somewhere else. Street corners in Shibuya, signs, under bridges, alleyways, overpasses, train station staircases, store walls. Oh dear. Basically everywhere where there is a sumo sticker in the city of Shibuya. I think we might have also found where that other video of Kaikita's murder had shown up as well, or from. And then I realized, yeah, all the monitors with sumo stickers.
病院の外の監視カメラだけじゃないか。
Yes, indeed. Some of them I knew, or maybe they're not actually from. Oh, sorry, they're not from the sumo stickers per se. I was just having delusion there. My mistake. But there was also that company. That company that manufactured the security cameras and put them up after the restoration. Some of them I knew. Some of the places we knew.
あそこは
That was the spot where Kurusu had been attacked. Of course, there were sumo stickers there.
なるほどな。探していたということか。
探していた。
Searching for what? Or rather, who?
さっきのファイルに書いてあっただろう。特殊な事象変異を引き起こす人間は11番目のこの画像に反応を示すと。
Kunosato pointed to the corner of one of the monitors. I quickly looked away before I got a direct look at the sumo sticker. Sorry, I'm a bit tired. In other words, whoever was using this place put up the 11th Rorschach image all over Shibuya and used these cameras to find people who reacted to it. And then they took them here and did these horrible experiments. How very cruel. And sadly, Takuru is one of those who is reacting rather negatively to the sumo stickers. I remembered what I'd seen happen to Senri Minamisawa and felt like I was about to throw up again. And then Kunosato made a sharp noise. What's happened? She put her hand on one of the monitors to brush away the dust, and then stared at it. It showed something moving around a dark room. There was no sumo sticker there. It wasn't an image of Shibuya or of the hospital above, so it was probably showing one of the rooms down here.
あの子
It was definitely the girl. Is that Uki? On the screen. She was saying something to an old person lying on a bed and gently wrapping belts around their arms and legs. Yeah, that's definitely Uki Yamazoe.
急げ。もうじき警備が回ってくる時間だ。
Yeah, we need to get out of here. Well, we still can. That girl was the only clue as to where my smartphone was, which meant that we had to find the room on the monitor. But will Kunosato allow us to do that? Kunosato suddenly told me that she knew where it was. She'd been so uncooperative so far. I had no idea why she suddenly decided to help. Well, better accept the solid branch while we still can. But when she saw the girl, she suddenly said she'd go with us. Yeah. Even she wants answers to the many mysteries and questions about this place. Of course I knew her well enough by now. She wasn't helping us. She'd simply taken an interest in that girl. At least that's how I saw it. As we moved down the dim hallway, the temperature dropped and the humidity went up. Feeling sleepy.
ここだ。
Looks like we found it. She stopped in front of a door with strange words on the plate. Confinement room 3. Kunosato opened the door a little, taking care to make as little noise as possible. I peeked inside. And there I saw a world I'd only ever seen in movies. There were rows of beds in the room, rather interesting rafters at the top, and there were what appeared to be prisoners lying on them. They had different ages and sexes. Some were old and some seemed young, and one of them I recognized. It was the old lady the girl had been walking with before.
213981799357
Some were screaming, some were counting numbers endlessly. One was a girl who was endlessly chewing her food. It seemed unreal. I remembered the woman with the baby carriage I passed before and felt cold sweat forming on my palms.
ここは
強度の OCST。視床下部損傷による過食およびチューイング。大脳半球損傷による反則空間無視障害。全員脳をいじられてる。
That they have, and we've got 3 new tips that we're about to find. OCSD, also short for obsessive compulsive spectrum disorders. A spectrum of disorders with obsessive compulsive qualities, such as the compulsion to repeatedly wash one's hands to wipe away an invisible stain. Disorders such as autism and Asperger's syndrome are also considered part of the spectrum. Chewing. A type of eating disorder seen in mental patients. Refers to the act of endlessly chewing one's food rather than chewing it and then swallowing it. Hemispatial neglect. The inability of a person to recognize stimuli that occur on either the left or right side, caused by some form of damage to the brain. For example, if a patient with this disability was asked to draw a picture of an analog clock, they would only be able to draw half the numbers. This is because while their eyes see the entire clock, the brain is only able to recognize half of it. Yep, everyone here is a patient of some of the failed experiments.
そう簡単に処分することもできず、ここで飼い殺してる。
For a moment, the tone of her voice changed. It felt like there was a pale flame burning somewhere deep within her voice. It was a pale flame of rage, which seemed cold at first glance, but was in fact incredibly hot.
Taku!
Serika tugged at my sleeve and whispered. She pointed at a bed in the back with her other hand. I think she's found what we're looking for, or who we're looking for, actually. I could see something moving past what looked like a curtain. Well, we found her. Someone appeared from within the curtain. Yes, indeed. Uki Yamazoe, who appears quite different in person from how she seemed in the delusion back at Aoba Clinic. The girl in the file, Uki Yamazoe, didn't seem to notice us. She moved around from one patient to another, doing her best to take care of them. Well, I guess someone has to.
よかった。彼女はまだちゃんと正気を保ってるようだ。
Probably. Maybe. I could hear Kunosato whisper.
彼女からどうやってスマホを返してもらえばいいでしょう。説得とかしても聞いてくれるかどうか。むしろ警報でも鳴らされたら。
Well, I think there's only one way to find out.
私はあの子をここから連れ出す。スマホの話なんて言うのは、その後でいくらでも聞け。
Ah. So Mia wants to save Uki from this place. but I don't think she's going to leave so willingly. It took me a moment to figure out what she was saying. But by the time that I did, she flung open the door to the room and leapt inside. And you complained about us being impulsive, Mio Kunosato. Uki Yamazoe's eyes went wide at the sudden intruder. Maybe we should go in as well. Kunosato grabbed her hand. Talking to her first might have helped. Yeah, that was a bad move on your part, Mio. All the patients started to scream, afraid of the sudden commotion. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be that easy to get Uki out of here on her own. Yamazoe looked around the room and tried her best to calm the people there, even as Kunosato held onto her arm.
いいから来い。警備に気づかれる。早くしろ。だからあなたは誰ですか？一体何ですか？お前をここから解放してやる。そんな嫌です。やめてください。
The girl named Uki Yamazoe went pale and tried to free herself from Kunosato's grip. She was completely in a panic. Kunosato must have decided that there was nothing to be gained by talking because she quickly moved around behind her and put her arm on the girl's carotid artery. Oh, carotid artery. Why am I having trouble speaking? Then she applied a very light pressure. Yamazoe moaned for just an instant. Then she slumped backward into Kunosato's arms. That was a bit rude. She seemed to have passed out.
Oi.
はい。
タイムリミットだ。はぐれたら置いていく。あとは知らん。
That's basically her way of saying, if she escapes before we do, she's gonna leave us trapped down here, and damned be the consequences.
ここの連中みたいになりたくなければついてこい。
Well, looks like we're doing this. She put the unconscious girl on her back and then ran outside the room without bothering to wait for us. I was stunned at her speed, but there was no time for hesitating. It was very rude.
尾上いた。
Yeah, it's time to leave. And fast. I motioned to Serika and Ito and ran out into the hallway. So, well, bye. Running for our lives. We followed after Kunosato as fast as we could. Just like she said, if we got lost here, we'd be caught for sure. And who knew what would happen to us then? even though we already know. We know only too well. And of course, leaving all these crazed patients down here to their own fate. I didn't know who was doing these experiments or why, but their victims were suffering horrible fates. As I ran, it felt as if their screams of rage were following me. But we have no time to look back. And surprisingly, we actually managed to get out of the hospital itself without any problems.
もうダメだ。走れね
Well, at least we're outside. That's all that matters now. We followed Kunosato as fast as we could and made it outside the hospital via a different route than before. Kunosato was sweating like a racehorse and her breathing was heavy, but she never let her guard down for a second, which is her usual style. Instead, she seemed to be looking around intently. We were at the back of the hospital. It seemed like the exit where they moved corpses from the morgue to the hearse. For that reason, there was a fence surrounding us that kept us hidden. Kunosato had evidently taken this fence into account in her escape plans from the start. Good to know.
これからどうするんですか?
That is an excellent question, Serika. I was too out of breath to speak, so Serika spoke for me.
地下施設はもう大騒ぎになってるはずだ。ここも間もなく見つかる。死にたくなければ足を動かせ。行くぞ。
We're almost to the rear gate of the hospital, but I'm pretty sure that we have stirred up the hornet's nest by now. She started to run toward it. Probably a bad move. We followed her with the last of our strength. There was a guard stationed there, but inside there were only 2 men, asleep, heads pointed at the ceiling.
それほど長い効き目の薬は使ってない。急がないと目を覚ます。
Wait, you drugged the guards? I mean, that's a solution, but... I frantically made my way through the guard station and finally got past the hospital's outer walls. We ran a little longer, then found a van parked in a secluded spot.
何よ、みおちゃん。ずいぶん賑やかじゃない?
I'm actually surprised that you of all people were out here on the front lines. Momose. A broad-shouldered woman looked up at us from the driver's seat. That being said, thank you very much for being the getaway driver. It was hard to tell how old she was. It's not to say anything too loud. Her attitude and bearing made her look like an older person, but the mischievous grin on her face made her seem younger.
で、必要なことはつかめた?
ええ。あれだけの犠牲者を出しながら、例の実験では結局、理論を完成させることができなかったようです。
そう。
ディソードの発言にも確実性はなく、ギガロマニアックス実験は失敗だったと。
So they were trying to produce gigalomaniacs and have them manifest D-swords. But,
まあ、予想した通りよね。
indeed. All too well.
気軽だって
Of course, this is the first time that Takuru is hearing of the term gigalomaniacs and D-swords. What was a D-sword? Well, there have been multiple ways of describing the form and function of a so-called D-sword. Didn't she say something about that in the monitoring room? That she did.
ただ重要な情報源を見つけました。
Kunosato opened the rear door and lay Uki Yamazoe on the back seat.
その子が
多分実験の生き残りかと。保護？
それはまあいいわ。しばらくうちで預かっとく。
It was a gamble there that you took. It was one that,
頼み
well,
ます。
no use crying about it now. Kunosato hadn't even dropped her attitude for Detective Shinjo, but now she was being polite. Just who was this woman? Ah yes, introductions.
で、そっちの子たちはお友達じゃないわよね。
こっちは使えるかどうか後ほど判断します。私の家まで送っていただければ。
Yeah, thanks for the vote of confidence there. She seemed to be referring to us, but what did she mean by good? She was as arrogant as ever, and like usual, she was pissing me off.
了解。とにかくみんな乗りなさい。早く。
Better take this lifeline. Her voice got a little sharper as she pointed to the middle seat in the back of the van. We could hear what sounded like a lot of yelling from the direction of the hospital. Time to move. We quickly jumped inside and closed the door. Kunosato got into the front passenger seat. The van started quietly and headed off into the night. And off we go. Well, we made it out alive.
ここだ。入れ。何をぼさっとしている。さっさとしろ。
お邪魔します。
I take it this is Mio's apartment.
人の家の中をじろじろ無遠慮に見るものじゃない。
家ってもしかしてここが久野里さんの？
そうだ。何か問題でもあるのか？
It's, well, this is your humble abode, so
い
why
や
not?
だって
The outside wasn't much better, but looking inside it was hard to believe there was still apartments this dumpy in Shibuya. The same was true of everything else in the room. Everything in the apartment was the cheapest kind you could buy. But there is quite a bit of sophisticated equipment here as well. The only thing that was worth anything was the computer.
どうした宮下。
I pushed Ito out of the way and ran over to the computer. The monitor was still on. And the page there was one that I'd seen many times. Shibuya News. Yeah, I think it's time for a certain connection to be made. And it wasn't the display version of the page we'd seen so many times. The page was in the process of being edited. Yeah.
Uso? もしかして、ケイさん?
Yeah. Hate to break it to you, Takuru, but your internet idol is a far cry in reality than what you had hoped and believed. Oh well. So that was it. I thought I'd heard her voice somewhere before. Her voice was just too different from the gentle K that we were used to hearing. Well, sadly, the gentle K doesn't exist. She was never real to begin with. But that voice was without a doubt K's. But as I said...
嘘マジ K さんってあの K さん渋谷ニュースの
Indeed, and what people believe to be Shibuya News is nothing more than an information-gathering apparatus. Ita was pretty excited too, it seems, but, yeah. I don't think now is the time to give Mio the celebrity treatment. I honestly don't think she cares about that. Of course Ita was excited. Kei was someone we both admired. Unfortunately tragic, as it is. She was the ultimate right-sider. Or so you believed. Since even I admitted it, she had to be at the top of her class. I never thought I'd be able to meet her like this, though. But, yeah. I can't say I'd ever imagined Kei having a weird personality like this. Kei is just, Kunosato, the girl who'd been insulting us the whole evening, was the same person as the gentle Kei that we knew from Shibuya News. Yeah, let's just say that Hinai Arimura isn't the only one that can put on a personality facade when dealing with others. Yeah. Which was the real one? I didn't know. Pretty sure it's the aloof one. The one that spouts insults at us. A wide K brought us to her room. I thought I remembered her saying she'd decide if she could use us later. Yeah. Maybe as manservants or something. I looked over. But, we have a, Oh, we have a delusion trigger at our disposal. And I am sorely tempted to go for the positive one again, given the fact that Uh, yeah, given how I would imagine Takuru's imagination to go, I am sorely tempted to choose positive, although, been a while since we've had a negative um, delusion trigger. Hmm. But then again, part of me is just is also tempted to go through reality and puncture um, Takuru's illusions here. But decisions. You know what? Since we're in relative safety, it's I'm gonna go for a positive one, adventurers, and probably gonna regret that how this is gonna turn out. But yeah, all I can do is just select how Takuru um, interprets his reality and his delusions, and saw something strange in the corner of the room. The best way to describe it would be to call it a sword. Wait, that's. But I wasn't sure if most people who think it would saw it would think that. I think they would. They would definitely call it a sword. But huh. But that begs the question, is this a replica or is it real? If this is indeed the genuine article, this sword looks eerily familiar to somebody else's sword from the past, from 6 years ago. But there's no way that this could exist. I mean, after what happened in Chaos Head, there should be no way that this thing should even still be here. Its design was complicated and frankly unrealistic, and yet it exists, which begs the question. For some reason, looking at it made me feel uneasy. It made me feel really bad, actually. What was that? If someone told me it was for cosplay, I'd probably believe them. Yeah, they probably... That's probably how it would go down. If nothing else, it didn't match the image of the person I had in front of me. Not the Kay that I knew from Shibuya News, who was nothing more than abstraction anyway. Or the Kunosato who'd been swearing at me the whole night. Did she maybe have a third identity? Maybe she was a famous cosplayer. Or maybe she was a toy artisan who made life-sized weapons. Maybe she was an otaku who collected swords like this. Ha 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 ha. Very, very funny there. But that sword might actually be the first clue to Mio's true identity, if indeed the image of that sword is what I think it is. But either way, it felt like a bad idea to mention it. Best to just ignore it. Best to pretend I'd never saw it. Really? Well, the trigger is on. The trigger has been pulled.
宮代
Maybe it wasn't such a good idea to do this next to that kind of sword.
その件が気になるのか。
Hmm. Kunosato brought it up, and I was trying my hardest to ignore it.
いや、別に。
I tried my best to laugh and avoid looking at it. Kunosato must have sensed what I was doing because she dropped the subject. Instead,
やはり、お前こそが真のアウグルなんだな。
this kind of sounds like something a certain singer from Phantasm would say, True Augur. She whispered. What was going on? Why'd she brought us here? Even though we have no place, well, we have to crash in this place, because they're looking for us. The windows started to rattle. It must have been the wind. The only things I could see outside the window were the street lights shining in the darkness. For some reason I felt very anxious. And then it came without warning. I think, yeah, I'm probably gonna have regrets. Or maybe not. Or maybe so. There was a huge crash as the windows shattered. A black ball landed in the center of the room. That's not good.
なんだ。
捕らえましたよ、久野里美代。
And it's Uki, apparently. It was a tiny girl with glasses. I knew her face. She was the girl we'd seen at AH Tokyo General Hospital.
つけられていたか。
見つけたからには皆さんの命はありません。平等にエゼクサンをします。宮代さん、あなたもです。
Don't think you said execute, or execution right there. For some reason I didn't sound very worried. I'm just having trouble keeping up with the situation. Yeah. Aren't you supposed to be, over at Mimose's house?
トク。
Serika was clinging to me, a little afraid. It was rare to see her look like that way. Sorry. That actually didn't make any sense. Normally she was optimistic and easygoing. As the man here, I needed to protect her. Well, thanks for that. As
私は風使い。人呼んでウィーゼルサイス。
ウィーゼルサイス。
yeah, now this is just turning into all kinds of anime silliness. That translated to
かまいたち。
I saw that her nails were shining emerald green. Did she paint them with luminescent paint?
さ セブンスのプラーガが出張ってくるとはな。だが分かっているのか、ここはセロパライズだぞ。力を使えばどうなるか。
Yeah, this is genuinely going and delving into phantasm territory.
知ったことではありません。
Yeah, this is definitely going into Fez territory here.
我が使命はただ一つ、計画の障害を取り除くことだけですから。
Interfering with the plan.
させるか。
Kunosato reached for her blade. But before she could,
可視化せよ、我が風。
a burst of wind blew through the room. The wind shone emerald green, obviously, because wind is always green in anime.
切り裂け。
島。
That was actually an impressive effect there. The emerald wind surrounded Kunosato's body. Her clothes were torn apart. Oh god. I don't like where this is going. Not just her clothes, her beautiful skin and long black hair were ripped apart by invisible blades. Red blood flew through the air. Again, this is supposed to be the positive one,
なんだよ。
right?
なんだよこれ。
Something weird is happening with Kunosato fell to the ground, covered in blood. Her hand just managed to grab the blade, but she couldn't fight like that. Kunosato was going to die. But all I could do was stand there and watch. If I interfered, I would meet the same fate. I would be execution. God damn it, why am I... Yeah, exectioned. Which is a word straight out of Howin Kiyoma's playbook.
オーガナイザー側のアウグルも質が落ちたものですね。
Yeah, we are basically in Chinigyu
クノサトミオ、
territory here.
あなた程度で私を止められるとでも？
I know I'm just, yeah, I'm ruining the atmosphere here, but, Kunosato gritted her teeth and staggered to her feet, using the sword as support. That's crazy. You can't do anything like that. She'll just kill you.
いや、知らん。
With the last of her strength, Kunosato offered me her sword.
剣を取れ。私には使いこなせなかったが。お前 前だからこそ真の力を引き出せる。
Yeah, this is a definitely a cliche trope if ever I saw one.
成層圏グラジオラスはお前のために、カオスチャイルドのためにある剣なんだから。
The Holy Ideo Blade Gladiolus. Yeah, that definitely sounds like something that Ayase Kishimoto would come up with.
僕のためにある。
My name was the ChäoS Child. I guess. Kunosato pushed into my hands, her arm strong but not strong enough that she was forcing me to take it.
Miyashiro Takuru.
Fight. Fight. Me?
戦え。でないとみんな死ぬ。
And then Kunosato collapsed into my arms. I grabbed her and suddenly my hands were slit with red blood. She'd always been so intimidating that I thought she was much taller than me. But her body was so fragile and so light. She was just a girl too. But she fought so hard until she ended up like this. I had to do it. I didn't know what was going on. But if I didn't stop her, not only Kunosato's life or my life, but Serika and Ito's lives would be in danger as well. I would have to protect everyone. I set Kunosato on the ground. I motioned to Serika and Ito to step back. I gripped the sword I'd been given tightly. Then I turned to face the girl in the glasses, Weasel Scythe.
話は終わりましたか、カオスチャイルド。
I glared at her silently.
あなたがその剣を取るというのなら、ウィーゼルサイズの名にかけて容赦しません。真の覚醒へと至る前に、今ここでエゼクソンします。
Yeah, Exertion. That's how it's pronounced. I didn't know what to expect. If I didn't fight, I would die. I had to fight. I steeled myself and took a step towards Weasel Scythe. And it's over. Huh? Yeah, hate to break it to Takuru, but that was Power Rangers levels of cringe there. Although I think Ferris and Fez would actually applaud you for your imagination there. You're in your last year of high school. What the hell are you thinking? Sure, any Japanese boy who grew up in manga could fantasize about something like that, but it was all tropes and cliches. If it had gotten launched in a magazine, it would have been cancelled after 10 weeks. Really? Because, yeah, believe it or not, Power Rangers and the myriad forms of spin-offs that have conjured from that are still somewhat fairly popular. I blame the sword that was just sitting there in the corner. Although if that sword is the real deal, if that sword is actually a D sword, then, yeah. Not only does it call into question Mio Kunisato's character, but if that sword is in fact her D sword, then, we couldn't even use it if we tried. Any boy who saw that sword would remember his dark history, the dark past. That which must be confined and never brought into the light of day. Flown across the horizon on a black helicopter. Anyway, this was no time to be thinking about that sword, even though that sword is very important.
ケイさん、俺マジファンなんす。声聞いてるだけで超癒されるっつうか。
And Shinji is gushing over the fact that Mio Kunosato is K from Shibuya News, but here's the thing, K doesn't exist.
そんなことはどうでもいい。
As I sat there fantasizing, Kunosato was tearing apart Ito's hopes and dreams. He was having a bad time. Yeah.
それよりお前。
え？
お前だ、宮代拓。いちいち聞き返すな。
はい。なんでしょう。
His habit of acting like a crazy person, trying to deal with somebody he doesn't know, can be a bit of an inconvenience. Crap, she really was scary. Was the K I'd loved only an image I'd created for myself? Yeah, just a delusion, a hallucination, a fantasy in your head. Or was this girl who she really was? Indeed. Kunosato stood by the wall and glared at me, oblivious to how I felt. That should be all the answer you need.
お前は何の能力者だ？
Odd question after what we've just been through. It was so sudden that I didn't know what I'd been asked. Power. Who? Me?
さっき言ったろ。あの地下施設は今厳重に封鎖されている。ど素人がそんな簡単に入り込めるような場所じゃない。
Indeed. That is true.
それはたまたまですよ。なんか偶然とか重なってうまく入れただけです。
隠すな。お前はそれを能力でやってのけたんだ。
だから違います。
監視モニターがいきなり起動したのだってそうだ。
What was she talking about? I didn't have any kind of powers. And wait. Kay, I respected you, so try not to disappoint me so much. Yeah, as I said, Kay doesn't exist. She was never a right-sider because she was never that person to begin with.
大体何を根拠にそんなことは。
地下施設にお前たちが潜入しているのを見つけたときにな。お前かそっちの彼か、どちらかが能力者じゃないかと疑った。
Interesting that you would say that. Kunosato pointed at me and Ito in turn.
俺もすか？
Yeah, I'm just as surprised as you, Shinji.
あ
If you actually had...
あ、だがお前の方はその後何の反応も示さなかったからな。除外した。
Yeah. Shinji wasn't the one who exhibited incredible negative emotions to the sumo sticker Rorschach. Alas, Shinji.
反応？
11番目のロールシャッハ画像を見た時の反応だよ。
Yeah, Shinji, hate to break it to you, but you're just an ordinary person. Very ordinary, which is a good thing. There was that bizarre Rorschach again. Kunosato's deep, dark eyes were peering into me.
だが宮代拓、あの画像を見た時お前は激しく動揺した。
いや、だってあんな気色悪い絵ですよ。当たり前じゃないですか。
お前のはそういう反応とは全く違う。あの画像を見た時にどう感じた？思い出してみろ。
He's definitely seeing right through us, Takuru. The feeling I'd experienced when I'd seen the sumo sticker image came back to me. When I looked at it, all the hairs on my body stood on end and I was attacked by nightmarish delusions from which there was no escape. It was so scary I couldn't help but look away from it.
じゃあ身の潔白を証明するためにもう一度見てみるか？あの画像を。
That is cruel even for you, Kunosato. Kunosato turned toward her computer and opened up a folder. She watched my face carefully as she moved to click on an image inside the folder.
嫌です。やめてください。
I slowly sank to the floor and sat down, sweat pouring from my body. I looked away from the computer. I didn't have the courage to look at that image right now.
いい加減にしてください。
Serika interrupted with a yell. It was the first time in ages I heard her yell. I looked up to see her standing between me and Kunosato with her hands on her hips.
一体何なんですか？特に超能力ってそんなアニメや漫画みたいな話真面目にしてどうかしてますよ。
何？
I think we have to applaud Serika for her courage here. Although...
おのえ。
タクは人が殺された場所とかでいっぱいあのシールを見てきてるんです。気持ちが悪くなるの当たり前じゃないですか。 私だってラブホの時のことを思い出して吐いちゃいそうになることありますけど。
Serika coming to Takuru's defense.
そんなくったらないことが証拠だって言うなら、私にだって超能力があるってことになりますよね。
She does have a point.
いや、お前は違う。
なんでですか。
But of course, yeah, Serika pushed harder. Yeah, as with Shinji Ito, Serika Inoue did not have the same reaction to the Rorschach that Takuru did either. When she thought I was in trouble, sometimes she would turn into a totally different person. She would try to protect me in a different way than Kurisu. It made me happy and it made me feel better, but...
尾上、ありがとう。けど、ちょっとだけ抑えてくれ。
でも。
いいから、本当にサンキューな。
Not that we don't appreciate it. There was no way I had any kind of psychic power. But I'd already suspected that powers like that were involved in this case somehow. So I wanted to hear what Kunosato had to say. Kunosato looked at me for a moment, questioningly, and then sighed. Maybe it was a bust anyway. Then she took out her phone and made a call. The person on the phone didn't seem very happy about it, but eventually they gave their approval. She nodded and hung up the phone, then spoke. See where this leads to.
また出かけるぞ。まあ、今度は命の危険はないだろう。安心するがいい。
Don't worry, you say. I wonder about that. Oh, we're back here.
ふむ、こんな時間によう来たの。まだ閉店時間までは間があるゆえ、ゆるりと過ごしてゆくがよい。
It's Cafe LAX, the manga cafe, the sanctum sanctorum of Shibuya, and the peculiar magical girl maid, whose name is still unknown to me. But I believe this is where this episode is going to end. So when we return, adventurers, we'll see if Mio Kunosato can shed some real light on this situation and actually tell us what the hell is really going on here. As always, adventurers, until next we meet.